It's a never-ending cycle of wanting, pursuing, and searching for happiness in external things. It's a trap of dissatisfaction and inner emptiness. Welcome to Journey of Self-Awareness, your YouTube channel for personal growth and self-exploration. In Euro-American cultures, we frequently learn that happiness can be achieved through material possessions, social status, wealth, and the pursuit of sensory pleasures. These values are fueled by social pressures, the media, our own desires for acceptance, and the allure of advertising. But the truth is, relentlessly chasing after external sources of happiness leads us astray and leaves us unfulfilled. In this video, we'll explore the false pursuit of happiness, which is rooted in the egoic sense of a separate self, and we'll talk about escaping the hamster wheel of constantly chasing after one desire after another. As we've learned, the egoic self is constantly craving validation, always comparing itself to others, and continually seeking pleasure while avoiding discomfort. It tricks us into believing that true happiness can be found by accumulating more and more possessions or money, or by relentlessly pursuing fleeting pleasures and external sources of validation and approval. However, this constant quest for happiness is entirely misguided because it only offers temporary satisfaction without any real lasting fulfillment. When the truth is that lasting happiness and genuine fulfillment can only be found within. The ego resides at the core of human experience, and it's responsible for our sense of a self. It's what makes us feel like an individual separate from others and the surrounding world. The ego also plays a pivotal role in shaping our identity, driving our desires, and giving us a sense of control over our lives. But the egoic sense of a separate self isn't something we're born with. It's a conceptual and mental construction that develops over time. It's shaped by a complex interplay of social conditioning, early childhood experiences, and the innate human tendency to differentiate ourselves from others. Identifying with the egoic self is a natural part of psychological development, but it's also the source of suffering and a source of inner conflict. In early childhood, the ego solidifies into a distinct and separate identity. It becomes the driving force for many of our actions, and is fueled by various factors such as fear of rejection, avoidance of emotional pain, the pursuit of pleasure and social approval. However, the ego carries with it a sense of isolation and disconnection from the larger world. It sees itself as separate and apart from a contentious and potentially hazardous world with which it's continually grappling and managing. And this feeling of separation can lead to psychological and emotional challenges. For example, one significant challenge is this sort of vague yet persistent feeling of an inner lack or emptiness. Because the ego creates a sense of separation between self and other, subject and object, it sees itself as separate and apart, and it cuts us off from our true nature. It cuts us off from our own divinity. And when we identify with a separate self, then, we feel incomplete, that something is missing. This feeling of lack or inner emptiness manifests as a vague yet pervasive sense of unease or dissatisfaction, which can often lead to cycles of craving, seeking, searching, or striving. For example, many find themselves struggling to fill this void with material possessions, experiences, or relationships. The catch is that such external factors can never truly satisfy the ego's insatiable hunger. So why does the ego persist in such fruitless pursuits? The short answer is self-preservation. The ego is always concerned with itself, and it seeks satisfaction as a way of justifying and perpetuating its own existence. It'll even deliberately create feelings of dissatisfaction or suffering, leading to never-ending quests for more or for solutions, simply to ensure its own survival. It's never truly satisfied with what it has, and this perpetual dissatisfaction often drives us to endlessly compare ourselves to others, to seek external validation, approval, and sources of satisfaction. The interesting thing is that, regardless of whether it's striving for what it wants or avoiding what it doesn't want, the ego will be content because either way it knows it'll remain firmly entrenched. This is where cultural values and social norms come into play. As we grow up, we're exposed to various cultural values that dictate what we should value and pursue in order to be successful and happy. These values include physical appearance or beauty standards, wealth, material possessions, social status, fame, prestige, or even power. They're constantly reinforced by the media and by society as a whole. We receive these messages almost every day from the time we're very young. The ego eagerly absorbs these values and identifies with them. Driven by a sense of lack, it relentlessly strives to attain such external markers of success in an attempt to alleviate its inner dissatisfaction and to seek validation. In the false pursuit of happiness and fulfillment, we often chase such external markers of success, believing that they hold the key to lasting fulfillment. But herein lies the deception. When we pursue external sources to fill our inner emptiness, we're bound to be disappointed. They prove ultimately unsatisfying because, as I said, the true sources of happiness lie within. External sources can never fill the inner sense of lack that's the result of our egoic identifications. That's why it's called the false pursuit of happiness. While achieving these goals might offer fleeting moments of satisfaction, they can never lead to lasting happiness. Instead, they provide only temporary and shallow gratification, leaving us perpetually unsatisfied. When we base our happiness on external factors like possessions, social validation, or fleeting pleasures, we unwittingly set ourselves up for a cycle of disappointment, and this cycle keeps driving us towards temporary and superficial sources of satisfaction. While these moments may bring us fleeting joy, as I've said, they ultimately lack depth and substance. As a result, we become trapped in a never-ending loop, constantly searching for the next external source of happiness that always seems to be around the corner yet out of reach. This pursuit, driven by the ego's insatiable desire, is similar to attempting to fill a void that can never truly be filled. And with each failed attempt to find happiness, the ego only strengthens its belief in its own separateness, further exacerbating its sense of dissatisfaction. So it turns out that the false pursuit of happiness is actually one of the biggest causes of lasting unhappiness. More accurately, I should say that desires are a fundamental cause of human suffering, and the ego thrives when we're chasing after our desires. What's more, desires for wealth, power, and fame can cause us to act in ways that are harmful both to ourselves and others. To find true happiness and fulfillment, we must learn to let go of our egoic desires and connect with our true selves. This can be a difficult process, but overcoming the wheel of desire is necessary if we hope to find lasting peace and contentment. The wheel of desire is a Hindu concept. It's a never-ending cycle of wanting, pursuing, and searching for happiness in external things. It's a trap of dissatisfaction and inner emptiness. As soon as we fulfill one desire, the newness or novelty soon wears off, and it's quickly replaced by yet another desire, and on it goes. To break free from this trap, we need to step away from our egoic pursuits and embark on a journey toward genuine fulfillment and self-awareness. But there's a catch. The ego doesn't want you to give up the false pursuit of happiness because it strengthens and preserves the ego. It maintains itself by constantly chasing the mirage of ultimate happiness, which seems tantalizingly close yet forever out of reach. Because the ego is primarily concerned with its own self-preservation, it'll resist letting go of the pursuit of external sources of satisfaction. The ego sees letting go as a threat, precisely because that's what would weaken and jeopardize the ego's dominance. This very resistance to change often prevents people from starting or continuing on a spiritual path. They become trapped in a never-ending pursuit of illusory happiness, their attention riveted on the next potential source of contentment that's always just out of reach. So how do we break free and transcend the ego's deceptions to find genuine happiness? To break free from the false pursuit of happiness and the relentless wheel of desire, we have to shift our attention inward. We need to develop enough self-awareness to begin recognizing the illusory nature of the ego and the futility of constantly chasing its desires. Through mindfulness, meditation, and introspection, we can begin to see the egoic sources of desires and start to detach from them. That's the only way we'll find the contentment that lies beyond such temporary sources of satisfaction. We have to cultivate a deeper understanding of our authentic selves, our inner values, and the true nature of our desires. If we embrace the present moment and find contentment in simply being, rather than perpetually seeking, we can go a long way toward experiencing a profound inner peace that transcends the whims of our fleeting desires. As I said, true happiness is not found in material possessions or accomplishments, it's found within. When we finally connect with our true selves, we fill that inner void and experience a deep sense of peace, contentment, and joy that doesn't depend on external circumstances. Spiritual traditions such as Tibetan Buddhism have long delineated the genuine sources of true joy and happiness. Their love, compassion, generosity, and wisdom. Love is the heartfelt wish for the happiness of all beings, and it's so powerful because it transcends our personal desires. In fact, it's the foundational cornerstone of all other positive virtues like compassion, kindness, and patience. When we cultivate love, we establish a profound sense of connection with all of existence, and when we arouse genuine feelings of love for others, we dramatically weaken our egoic barriers and erode false feelings of separation. Compassion is the second source of true happiness. It goes beyond love and motivates us to actively alleviate the suffering of others. Compassion prompts us to extend our empathy and care to those who are suffering or in pain, either physically or emotionally. It drives us to engage in acts of kindness and support to make a meaningful difference in the lives of others. The third source is generosity. Generosity is the act of giving to others without expecting anything in return. Practicing generosity plants seeds of positivity in our mind stream that pave the way to future happiness. When we share our belongings, our time, and energy, we start a cycle of goodwill and abundance that not only benefits others, but also transforms our relationship with abundance itself, fostering a sense of inner wealth. Wisdom is the fourth source of true joy and happiness. Wisdom is the result of deep understanding and insight into the very nature of reality. It involves recognizing the interconnectedness and the interdependence of all things and understanding the concept of emptiness, the absence of an inherent fixed existence. Wisdom allows us to transcend the ego's attachments and illusions which are at the root of suffering. Through wisdom, we liberate ourselves from the constraints of the ego and gain a broader perspective on life. These qualities are interconnected and mutually reinforcing. Love provides the motivation for compassion, compassion fuels acts of generosity, and wisdom guides us to express these qualities authentically. As we integrate these virtues into our daily lives, we create a positive ripple effect that enhances not only our own well-being, but also contributes to the well-being of others and the world around us. Love, compassion, generosity, and wisdom are not just ideals. These are living virtues that, when cultivated, they light up our lives. These qualities free us from the shackles of egoic desires and allow us to experience a deep and lasting contentment that transcends the fleeting pleasures of the world. Practices like mindfulness and meditation are essential for developing these qualities. By turning our attention inward, we can develop a deep understanding of these virtues and their relevance to our experiences. As we continue to practice them, we not only enhance our spiritual growth, but we also inspire and uplift those around us. If you want to make meaningful progress on a transformative journey of self-awareness, you will diligently and enthusiastically harness the power of positive virtues by integrating them into your everyday life. I keep stressing this. I can't tell you how important it is. Armed with wisdom and self-awareness, we can choose a different path, a path that leads to the deepest wellsprings of joy and fulfillment from within. By understanding how the ego creates a sense of lack and seeks external happiness, we can take the first steps toward our own liberation. We can shift our focus away from the ego's selfish desires and preoccupations and instead prioritize the welfare of others. So shift your focus inward, embrace the present moment, and connect with your authentic self. As we align our actions with our deeper values and foster a sense of unity with the world, we can undergo a profound transformation. We can liberate ourselves from the never-ending cycle of seeking and awaken to a more enduring, enriching, and authentic form of happiness. May your journey carry you far along the road to self-awareness and personal growth, and may you find the true causes of joy and lasting happiness. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for joining me on this remarkable journey. Please tell your friends about us and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on our next video, all about the invisible sources of suffering that most of us completely fail to see. Also, don't forget to check out the in-depth blog articles on our website, josaonline.com, and be sure to click the link at the top of the page to get your free preview chapter of my upcoming book, Daily Aspirations, Prayers, and Affirmations. Well, thanks again for joining me on this journey. As you continue forward, may you find the profound self-awareness you deserve.